Hey everyone, so today I wanted to do a bit of a different video. I've seen quite a few comments from those of you who are students and asking a few comments about studying and what you can choose to study and how you go from like college to career. Today I thought I would just talk about my experience from graduating university to finding my career. Bear in mind, I did graduate over 10 years ago. I love my career. I love where I am now and the situation that I'm in. I know that if I hadn't gone through everything I did in the past, I wouldn't be where I am now. One of the regrets I have is that I was never really involved in groups or clubs whenever I was in college, just to develop some of those professional networks. And I really regret that I never did any type of internship. I think this would have helped me realize early on that there's so many different options and branches of career paths that I could have chosen that fall under the umbrella of what I liked. I feel like whenever you're picking your major or even your minor, you have this general idea, like a broad idea of what your career might be. Don't be afraid to change your major or the direction that you're heading in as well. So I graduated with a degree in English rhetoric. This is different from English where you typically think like literature. So I'm going to read a quote about modern rhetorical theory. Kenneth Burke describes modern rhetoric as rooted in an essential function of language itself. The use of language as a symbolic means of inducing cooperation in beings that by nature respond to symbols. But in general, for my rhetoric studies, we really focused on communication, logic, critical thinking, persuasion, analyzing, critiquing, deconstructing everything. And it really intersected with how language and communication impacts our society. A lot of people who were on the same track as me ended up specializing in a certain area with their masters afterwards or in their minors. I mean, this was a lot of things like business, politics, psychology, or sociology, or even like myself with gender studies and linguistics. I mean, there's so many people that I went to college with and graduated with, and we have vastly different careers now. And I remember a lot of us started out saying like, oh, we want to be professors. Teaching as a professor was a long time dream of mine, and the experiences I had in college, I really wanted to continue that. I really loved studying rhetoric and sociolinguistics specifically, and I wanted to like research more of that and teach that to people. I always worked during summers, and anytime there were summer classes or winter or spring semesters that I was able to take, I was taking those classes. But I never tried to do any kind of internship. So that's a big piece of advice, is make sure that you try to get involved in either an internship or even groups, like even for fun. There was a magic group on campus, I remember, or like poetry groups. Like that would have been fun and helped create more networks. But I never understood why so many people spoke about the importance of networking until now. You know, joining those groups or doing internships may help you gain tools about meeting new people and learning how to present yourself or like interact in different social settings, which could help whenever you're in a situation and you're not surrounded by people who are all your same age. It would have been great to get some insight and a peek into different types of career paths that were available. You know, I know someone who graduated with a degree in archaeology, and they are now a very successful city. Apparently there's some inside joke about how like, you know, you're an archaeologist because you like get divorced or can't stay married, because I think they move around a lot in what they do for a career. But if you're interested in having an impact in your community or getting involved in local government, like these are jobs that I never knew existed. Like I would always think, I wonder why that development went up, or I wonder who gets to decide like why that piece of land isn't becoming a park and instead is becoming some hotels. You know, there's people who specialize in zoning, and that's a career that I didn't know existed 10 years ago. I know someone who was majoring in linguistics and then switched into their minor because they decided to major in international business studies. They really liked the aspect of learning as many languages as possible. Like they wanted to speak every language you could think of. They also wanted to intersect it with business studies. And now he works for an international engineering company. I met someone who graduated with a degree in engineering, and now they're the head of a communications and marketing department because of how they've networked and grown throughout their career. I know of a woman who was a coordinator in marketing for a transportation firm. She ended up leaving and starting her own woman-owned business that was specifically for marketing and branding, and now she gets hired and contracted out by a bunch of transportation firms. So I graduated and moved to Australia. I ended up working at an adult store and in a couple other industries. I just knew in my heart that I wanted to do something under the umbrella of like communication or rhetoric. I just wanted to do something in this general field. So I thought, okay, maybe I can continue my studies and maybe be a therapist and try to help people. But I never ended up getting my master's. As much as I tried to continue consuming and educating myself on my own, I just never went ahead with furthering my education. When I moved back to the States, I was like, all right, I need a career. I was starting over completely job-wise. So I thought, okay, maybe I can get my teaching certificate to teach ESL because I started reading more about language acquisition. And then I could get my master's down the line. And I got all the way up to taking my test for the certification, but I never did because I ended up landing what I consider my dream career in marketing and communications. It's interesting because in high school, I took a lot of advertising design, which was more like learning about graphics. But while I was studying rhetoric in university, what we did was we picked apart every form of media you could think of. I mean, commercials, song lyrics, music videos, movies, everything. The videos that I've done on like Chantal and Jen, I've done similar videos in the past about movies and phrases that we use in our society, and I got completely obliterated. People did not like it, and I totally get it because I see a few comments here and there about how like you're looking too much into this, you're over analyzing it, and I totally get that. But when you study rhetoric and critical analysis, like you have to kind of get into the weeds and pick things apart when you want to prove your theory or argument. So back then I was like, oh my gosh, like marketing and advertising, that's bad, that's evil. They're trying to manipulate people. You know, back when I was in college, I was like, like I didn't understand why my professors were like, you know, people sit in a room and they make these decisions. Every decision that comes out of a commercial or an advertisement is chosen by certain people. But I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're analyzing it and I get the arguments that we're trying to prove, like, okay, but now that I work in this field, I'm like, oh yeah, everything is picked for a purpose. I remember one study I did, I looked through so many magazines just analyzing if women had their mouths open or touching their mouths in a sexual way, or like how many men had artificial scars photoshopped onto their face because that's seen as more masculine and it's something that was reinforced, and that particular company was utilizing that in their sales message to reach their target demographic. But I had to learn that like this type of persuasion isn't always used for evil. I have a coworker who felt the same way as me. He studied graphic design, but in a similar fashion, he didn't know like the different specific branches of graphic design that he could get into. Did he want to do logos? Did he want to do branding? What type of industry? Did you want to go into like the hospitality industry or logistics or architecture or the film industry? Did you want it to be external for clients outside of that company or internal for things that you would communicate to the people inside your own company? I can't remember if they started their career there or if they interned at a place in the food industry, but they did not feel comfortable promoting things that they felt were unhealthy to the public. They ended up getting a job at the same place that I do, and we both feel like this is okay because the industry that we're in like helps people. It gives back to the community. Working in marketing and communication, I get to be creative and graphic. I get to do sales messaging and technical writing and some creative writing. I have to use strategy and analysis when thinking about clients and decisions that are made. You have to have certain skills with internal networking and rapport, because whenever I work on projects, you know, I'm kind of like a project manager. Learning skills about editing and reviewing is really great. A lot of companies like the one I work for offer a lot of continued education as far as like communication skills or technical skills. I get to give presentations often about different topics, which is really cool because that kind of fulfills that like, oh, I wanted to be a professor and like talk to people. So I really enjoy that. Now, I will say I do feel blessed and lucky that I was able to, you know, get the experience of living in another country. I know some people take like a gap year, and there's definitely nothing wrong with that. I think while you're young and energetic and you have that independence, but you don't have a lot of things tying you down, like a house or like pets or a partner maybe or anything like that, that you get to like travel and experience the world. Nowadays, I feel like I see so many younger folks like buying houses at such a younger age and living in like luxury apartments, which is great, but there's nothing wrong with living within your means while you get to have new and different experiences when you don't have a career that's tying you down. So that way you learn about yourself and maybe you change. Like by the time you're 20, 23, 25, like you might change and your desires and goals might be completely different. So allowing yourself the flexibility to learn and grow is really great as well. I really think it's important as well to have hobbies that give you a creative outlet and an outlet that's related to your wellness. These can really help you manage stress and change and flexibility as you continue on your journey. My main takeaway and suggestion is just think about different areas of study and how you can intersect them. So another example, like let's say every time it's Christmas and you're in the mall and you love seeing these like big displays and they pop up and then they go away when Christmas is over. And in college, you're working a retail job and it's really therapeutic for you to do merchandising. You can get a certificate in visual merchandising. I know someone who's a civil engineer, but they really have a passion for photography. So every chance that they get, they say, hey, we're doing this new project or this project just finished. I want to be the one to go out and take these professional photos, and then the company might offer them training on how to take these photos. So that's a way that they're able to kind of intersect their creative outlet and hobby with their career. So to sum it up, just think outside the box, try to network, join some groups, try to intern if you can. Start with your umbrella idea and see the different ways you can narrow it down. Don't get too bogged down with like comparisons about what other people are doing or have done, and just be open to all the different possibilities and know that it's never too late to go back and study as well. I'm still trying to figure out if I want to get my master's and what I would like to get my master's in, but every now and then I meet people who are younger than myself and they seem a bit stressed out about picking a career, and I just tell them, look, like it took me 10 years nearly to find a career related to my degree that I love, so no pressure. If you have any questions, let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed, and wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a beautiful day. Bye.